Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode that we're doing today with Terra Freeman, who is the horticultural agent with UF IFAS Extension in St. Johns County. Today, we're going to be talking about some different summer crops that you can grow or other things that you can do to your vegetable garden during the summer. And I am Amy Ackerman, the Assistant Branch Manager of the Main Library. And thank you again, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Tara, especially for coming and talking about this topic.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to be here. I always enjoy our talks.
Mm-hmm. So I thought, honestly, that there wasn't too much that could be done in the garden during the summer. Some of my favorite roadside vegetable stands, they might close up during the summer. And I always just thought, it's too hot. There's nothing to grow. There's nothing to do. You just kind of leave it alone. Turns out that's not true. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can be doing. So what are some crops that people can grow during the summer?
So that's a very good question. There are a lot of things you can do to your summer garden. And it's true, there aren't as many crops in the summer as there would be the fall and winter. But we do have some hardy varieties or hardy crops to grow. So sweet potatoes. People love to grow sweet potatoes in the summer. Okra, eggplant, even lima beans. And you can even grow peppers. You just kind of have to take a break midsummer, but you can start planting them again in July. And the same with watermelon.
So, Tara, what are some other things that can be done with our gardens during the summer other than growing some of those summer crops?
Well, summertime is an ideal time to prepare your soil for your fall crops. Two ways you can go about doing this are soil solarization or planting cover crops.
I haven't heard of either of those. What do they entail?
Well, okay, so they are both ways of making the soil healthier for your future crops. So starting with soil solarization, you cover the crops or you cover the ground with clear plastic. It has to be clear. It can't be black or even a yellow color, but clear will allow the sun's rays to shine through completely and really heat up the soil, solarize it, kill all sorts of weeds, nematodes, diseases, insects, and other pests in the soil. So basically, you cover.
I was just going to ask really quick. You said nematode. I have to confess, I don't know what a nematode is. What is that, and how do I know if I have them?
Good question. So nematodes are basically microscopic worms that live in the soil. And we do have beneficial ones, and then there are also harmful ones. So the harmful ones, they attack the root system and they damage the plant's ability to absorb water and nutrients. But they're microscopic, so to know for sure, you'd have to send it off to get a test done. But you can also look at them sometimes and tell when the root systems are eaten up.
Okay. So back to the solarization. You were talking about covering it with some clear plastic.
Yes, so it's also important when you've laid down the clear plastic to secure the sides so it doesn't blow away, and it also traps the maximum amount of heat. And basically, once you've got your clear plastic laid down and secured, you leave it for at least 6 weeks to be most effective. And this is best done in the summer months, June, July, and August when it's the hottest out. And then it also needs to be in a sunny area, so it won't work as well if it's in a shady area. But if done effectively, the solarization can reduce population levels of these pests for 3 to 4 months, and sometimes even longer.
So during the summer, it obviously rains a lot. Does it matter if the soil is getting damp underneath that?
No, it should be secure enough that there aren't holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
That will trap the most heat. So it'd be good to patch it if you notice holes.
Okay. And what else? Let's see here. You were talking about solarization, and was it cover crops that you mentioned?
Yes. So cover crops, that's another wonderful thing you can do in the summertime. You can also do winter cover crops as well. Cover crops are a wonderful way to improve your garden on so many levels. So it increases soil fertility, including nitrogen, because certain cover crops that are legumes, they fix nitrogen. into the soil. So they can enhance the soil fertility, improve nutrient retention, and they can increase the soil organic matter. And when you do this, this enhances the capacity of the soil to store nutrients and water. The organic matter increases the water holding capacity in sandy soils and improves water percolation in heavy and clay soils. So all around, it's just going to improve your soil structure, water infiltration, root penetration, enhances soil microbial communities. So many benefits to planting cover crops.
So how long do we need to have the cover crops for, and what are some examples of some good cover crops?
Okay, so each cover crop, the length of time would be a little bit different, but ideal time is when they've started going to flower, so you can maximize the amount of herbage being incorporated back into the garden. So maybe I should have started with this. So a cover crop is it's a crop that you plant, such as cowpeas, velvet beans, soybeans, sun hemp, which is a really tall one, and sunflowers. And what these do is they will add what we call green manure. When they're done growing, you cut them back. You can chop them down with a tiller or a weed eater or a mower. You can let them stay on the ground, or you can till them in, and you let the organic matter decay, and that's going to supply the organic matter and the nutrients. And they need to lay on the ground for about 6 weeks or so. So they have time, 3 to 6 weeks before the planting date of your next crop, just so that they have time to decompose. Otherwise, if they don't, they may lock up some of the nitrogen in the soil.
Got it. Okay. And I imagine we want to make sure that it's completely decomposed so it just doesn't regrow again.
Well, the good thing about selecting the crops is you would pick an annual crop, and you put it down before it goes to seed. So if it doesn't self-sow the seed, then it shouldn't regrow. And when you're cutting the crop back, as I said, there's a few different ways you can do it. There's one way that's called undercutting, which you're actually cutting the root system underneath the soil, and that way you'd really ensure they didn't grow back. Or you can rototill them into the ground. It really depends just on the equipment you have, how large the area is, details of your garden and what you have to work with. But the overall idea is just to get this organic matter back into your soil, and it will improve it on so many different levels.
So if you want to cut it, what are different ways to cut it or compost it?
Okay, so compost, I love how we always come back to composting in all of our garden talks, because
Yep.
composting has so many uses. So one way is to actually cut it back, and if you don't want to let it sit in your soil for whatever, let's say you need to plant your other crop right away, or whatever reason, you can rake it up and put it in a separate compost pile. So all this biomass just goes into a separate compost pile, and you let that break down like you would a regular compost pile. And then when that's ready, you spread that back onto your garden. The other way is just letting it stay in place, but you're undercutting it, or you're rototilling it into the ground, so that all of that the plants themselves, they're just decomposing on site, and they're releasing nutrients into the ground on site, building the soil. It's really a wonderful way to improve your gardens. So there are winter cover crops as well. So in the winter, you could plant, there's a cereal rye, crimson clover, which is beautiful, and there's an Austrian winter pea. And then if your focus is on reducing nematode populations, you can do the winter rye, sun hemp, velvet bean, and hairy indigo.
So, Tara, this has been pretty fascinating. I never really thought about the concept of planting something purely to replenish the nutrients in the soil. So this is giving me like a completely different way of thinking about gardening. So are there any other things that we should be thinking about during the summer or doing during the summer to our gardens?
Let's see, summer vegetable gardening in Florida. I know one thing for people that may be new to the area or maybe used to gardening in a more northern state is that tomatoes are
Mm.
not a summer crop in Florida. They're actually they're not considered a summer crop mainly because of physiological limitations. They won't set fruit if the nighttime temperatures are above 70 degrees. Although sometimes the cherry tomatoes will keep producing in the summer, and quite honestly, cherry tomatoes are a lot easier to grow from my personal experience.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Well, and if anyone has any follow-up questions, how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, so I'm pretty easy to reach via email at terraf@ufl.edu.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you again for Tara. I've enjoyed today's discussion and all of our previous discussions as well. So thank you again for joining us.
You're very welcome. I've had a great time. I've really enjoyed these as well. Thank you, Amy.
Mhm. Okay, everyone else, have a great day.